Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Jojo Rabbit. So this is a donation reward for Smurf Vlogs. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row again. Basically it was between this and another movie I have on my list currently. I have the two currently on my list. And it's basically I just decided to go with this one now to kind of get it out of the way. Especially since we're going to have a week off. Just want to kind of get it done and over with. And here's the reason. This is a movie that I'm very conflicted on. Like, just altogether. It is a movie that when it first came out, I not only did not want to see it, but because of the trailer, I actively hated the idea of it. Because the trailer made it look like, at least, that it was going to be making light of things that should not be made light of. The Holocaust, World War II, Nazis. It very much gave that impression. And since then, I have heard that it doesn't do that. That's not what it's actually doing in the movie. And that's why I decided to put it on my list. My donation reward idea list. Because I figured, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I'm expecting. But then there's the other aspect of it that really makes me conflicted and unsure on whether I will, to any degree, like this. Taika Waititi. I don't really make it a secret that I don't like Taika Waititi. I don't think he's funny, and I don't like what he did with Thor. Thor Ragnarok is, in my opinion, one of the worst movies of the MCU. And I don't even like his character in the MCU, Korg. I make it no secret I don't like Taika Waititi stuff. And what else has he done? Has he done anything else that I know? Not really. He is doing the upcoming Love and Thunder, which makes me really worried about that. Considering, again, I really hate what he did with Thor. I'll give it a shot, but yeah. But that was another thing that really concerned me about this film. Because I don't like what I've seen of him, both as an actor and as a director, writer, all of that. I really was not looking forward to this, if I'm being honest. And it's the other stuff, the Holocaust stuff, that made me just decide not to watch it. So then I heard, again, apparently that's not true. Apparently it doesn't make light of this stuff. I don't even remember what the story looked like it was supposed to be based off the trailer. All I remember is that Taika Waititi himself plays a goofy, comical interpretation of Hitler. And it's not like supposedly the real Hitler. It's supposedly like in the kid's mind. But that's pretty much what I know. Besides it taking place during that time period. And yeah, it's the interpretation that I saw in the trailer and everything that really bothered me, because again, this is something, the Holocaust and everything is something I really believe should not be made light of. I believe that making jokes or memes or anything like that based on Hitler or the Holocaust or Nazis in general is extremely insensitive and absolutely fucking disgusting. It's one of the absolute worst periods in human history, and it's not something to be made fun of, to be made into a joke. So I'm worried about this film. But like I said, I heard it wasn't actually like that. And so I decided I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But I want to at least give it a chance. I'm always one of those people who is kind of on the front lines of the idea that you should always give something a chance. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, you do. But you should at least you should at least try to see what it's like. I'm just concerned because again, it's a really serious topic that again should not be ever made light of. So I'm just hoping that the comedy aspects of it that the trailer like clearly focused on is very minor to the film, and I'm hoping that it's more along the lines of, I guess you could say something like Inglourious Bastards, where it doesn't make light of the atrocities the Nazi Party committed, where it doesn't make light of Hitler or anything, but it plays with the idea in a more comical fashion, while still acknowledging and presenting all of that as absolutely horrific and evil. That would be the best case scenario for me. If it was, I know obviously it's not going to be like Inglourious Bastards in terms of the violence and the gore and everything. I'm not saying I expect that. I'm just in terms of how it handles the comedic aspects. It is just my biggest concern with this. But like I said, I'm willing to give it a try. I'm willing to just sit back and see for myself. And again, if I don't like it, I don't like it. Hell, if I even hate it, then that's all there is to it. But at least I'll have given it a chance. I've heard it's a really popular movie. I've heard a lot of people really like it. But again, a lot of people say the same thing about Thor Ragnarok, to be fair. I don't know. I'm trying to go into this as fairly as I can. But I won't argue. I won't argue. It's difficult for me to do so. Because there are some preconceived notions that trailers do put forward about a film, about a series, about a video game. And when it... And so it kind of gives you these thoughts that you're going to wonder about and worry about and think about going into the piece of media. It just happens. So yeah. But like I said, I put it on the list. I chose to put it on my list because I was willing to give it a chance, and I wanted to see for myself and make my own determination. And hopefully it impresses me. Hopefully it will actually surprise me in that regard. So, thank you to Smurf for donating for this. Thank you to everyone who donates and chooses a reward. And as always, if you wish to in the future, and if you're able to, of course, I take donations at any time. Movies are usually the best scenario for a donation reward, but you can choose anything. A movie, a series, something on YouTube, whatever you want. Any donation, no matter how big or small, gets you a reward. Just only if you can and want to do you even have to donate in the first place. Because it's completely optional, and no matter what, nothing on the channel will be put behind a paywall otherwise. There will never be any content that you will never be able to access for free. All I might have worded that wrong. All content will be accessible for free by everyone, no matter what. So you'll be able to see everything I react to, everything I do otherwise on the channel, no matter what. This is just a way to get everybody involved in a more concrete way, as well as to get you guys to suggest me movies and shows and stuff that I wouldn't otherwise check out or give a chance to or whatever. It's allowed me to see a lot of things that I ended up loving that I would not have considered I would have ended up loving. I would have never probably even seen them. But yeah, either way, we're going to get this started, hope for the best, and hope that my preconceived notions are wrong about this. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode, or to the movie, rather. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This movie is tonally confused. And it's a shame because when it actually takes itself seriously, it's actually not bad. In fact, I'd say it's actually a little good. Not amazing. But it's good when it takes itself seriously. The problem is, because it's Taika Waititi, he tries too hard to make this funny. And it fails at pretty much every turn. Like I was saying at the end there, the first time I found anything funny in this movie was that slap at the end of the film. That was the only thing in this movie that I found funny. The actual attempts at comedy were absolutely insensitive, honestly. I talked about in the pre-thoughts how one of my biggest worries about this, and even when I saw the trailer initially back when this was first coming out, was that it wasn't going to, or that it was going to make light of the situations and the real life, Holocaust and Nazi party and everything. And it did. The comedic parts very much were making light of it. They were painting, even though it was all in Jojo's mind and all, they painted Hitler as like this goofy, ridiculous caricature. There was so much like goofy jokes about how things were handled in it, how characters acted and reacted around each other, even about the horrors of things. Like, when it took itself seriously, it portrayed the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust very well. But during those scenes that were trying to be comedic, it tried to portray those same horrors, but it literally made a joke out of them. And it was gross. It was disgusting. There's characters who are in there who are literally just a walking joke the entire time they're on screen. Rebel Wilson's character, for example. Like, it's for like the first half or so of the time, even the captain is on screen. Most of his lines and everything are a joke. And it's just, if they had to, if that stuff was taken out of this film, if they just focused on the serious nature of this, if they focused even like on the core story of this, on Jojo befriending this Jewish girl who her mother is hiding in their house, like that could have been great. That could have really told a great story that speaks against the prejudices of the time that still unfortunately exist in some people today. And it could have really nailed the themes and ideas it was trying to. But because of the moments that try to paint this as a joke, it ruins everything. It keeps this movie from being anything more than just okay. It keeps this movie from being good or great. And it's unfortunately what I kind of expected from Taika Waititi. It's honestly what I felt like it was going to be like in that regard. Now, again, this when it was serious, the serious stuff was really good on its own. But it was dragged down. And I wish it hadn't been. I wish really hardly that it had been how the film just went. Because again, it could have been great in that regard. But because it was dragged down by the comedy that, again, was never funny. Not a single joke was funny. Not a single time where it was actually trying to be funny was funny. Most of it was either cringe at best, insensitive cringe at best, or at worst, extremely tone deaf and disgusting. There were a couple moments that I was like really upset at. I don't know if you could see it in my reaction as much as I was reacting, because I really feel like I didn't say a lot in this video. But for as much as I was reacting, like I don't know if you could see it in like my face or the expressions or the body language I was putting forward. I don't know, but there were a couple things that really bothered me. And like I've seen movies about this topic that have bothered me in a good way, where it's like, oh yeah, this is supposed to bother you. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrific. And it's meant to bother you in that regard. This bothered me, and it's like, this is so tone deaf and so disgusting that this was put in here. It's not like Schindler's List in that regard. Schindler's List handled this very well, comparatively. It's just... I'll give one thing here for sure. The acting was really good. I will acknowledge that. Except for Taika Waititi, the acting was really good, because Taika Waititi is not a good actor. I don't care what anyone says. He's not. It felt like a person playing a role rather than, a character. But then again, with the role he was playing, it didn't help in this either. But all the other actors were really good. They all did their jobs really well. Especially the kid who played our main character. Like, he definitely sold it. ScarJo was ScarJo. It's like, you get what you expect from her, so nothing really out of the ordinary there. Not great, but passable, at least. It did leave some unanswered questions. I don't think, again, unless I missed it, I do not think it actually explained what happened to the sister. I don't think it did. And I also don't think it ever actually gave us confirmation on what the deal with the father was. it kind of implied that maybe he wasn't really loyal to Germany after all, and that he was planning on coming back after the war. It's very unclear exactly what was actually going on there. And then there's like again, the horrors that they do show really do stand out when they do, like, actually paint them as being, horrific. A good portion of that last scene with the attack on the city going on, most of that, when it wasn't trying to be stupidly comical, because there were a couple points in that fight where it was, and it was just stupid. But when it was actually being serious and just showcasing the horrors of the war and everything, it's like, oh yeah, it was working in that regard. It really was. And it's just, again, I just wish that would have been the entire movie. So I'm mixed on this film, is what I'm saying. Because while it does have some good to it, while there is some stuff in it that was legitimately well done, it's overshadowed by the fact that Taika Waititi had to be Taika Waititi and try to make everything into a fucking joke. He had to make light of the situation and the people within it to a degree where it's just, it hurt the overall film. And it hurt the messages and ideals and themes it was trying to get across. I mean, just the character of, what was his name? Yorkie, I think? Jojo's friend, who is also in the military, his character is literally just a joke. Just like Rebel Wilson's character, he's just a joke. Multiple times he's used as just a very cheap and ridiculous fat joke. There's multiple times where he's just kind of there. Like, yeah, he's not as into it as like Jojo was and everything. He even is a lot more quick to accept Jews and everything. But every scene he's in, they try to make it comical. They try to make him a joke. And he ends up feeling like less of a character and more of a plot device because of it. He feels like his character is just a joke. That's all he is. He's not an actual character. He doesn't have depth. He's just there to be funny. It's like having a funny sidekick character in a Disney movie that doesn't actually serve any other purpose. An example, the gargoyles in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like, it drags down everything around it. Just like the gargoyles did in that movie. Everything is kind of brought down by it. And I could actually, even though obviously the subject matter is very different, there is a comparison to be made there. Hunchback of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, however you wish to pronounce it, was a Disney movie that could have been one of the best, but they shoehorned in some ridiculous comedic elements that dragged it down. And it made light of the actual serious, heavy shit that was in the movie otherwise. If those comedic elements had been taken out, the movie, again, could have been one of Disney's absolute best. I mean, Judge Frollo alone has the makings of one of the best Disney villains. But again, the entire movie was brought down by the comedic elements, which completely distracted from and made light of everything else around them. The same is happening here. There's a lot of great potential that could be seen in this film. A lot that's genuinely good. but it's overshadowed by the weaker aspects, by the comedic elements that have no place in this film, feel completely shoehorned in, and in the end just come across as gross and insensitive. And you might think like, oh, you're taking this too seriously and everything, but you're fucking goddamn right I am. We're talking about the Holocaust. We're talking about World War II. We're talking about Nazis. If you're not taking that fucking seriously, there's something wrong with you. This is not something to make jokes about. I genuinely believe people who make jokes about this kind of shit are among the worst. And jokes, the jokes themselves, jokes about the Holocaust, about Nazis, about all of this stuff, are the absolute scummiest kind of jokes you can make. Up there with the likes of rape jokes. It's just absolutely unforgivable to make light of this kind of topic. So yeah, I'm very, very serious about it, and I'm going to be. I take this shit intensely seriously, and I don't like it at all when I see this kind of stuff. Especially when it's surrounded by things that otherwise really well portray how horrific this period of time was. That makes it even worse. Like, if this was just 100% parody, 100% comedy the entire way through, that would be one thing. But the fact that there's so much of the film that is trying to be taken seriously shows that they actually tried. It would be better if they didn't try. It would be better if, like, there was no real effort put into this to make an actual, like, legitimate film, and it was just, again, a parody, a just stupid comedy that wasn't meant to be taken seriously. That would have been one thing. It would have still been bad, because still making jokes about this kind of topic, but it wouldn't have been bad as this, because they are trying to make a film here. They're trying to make something. Taika Waititi and everyone else who worked on this are trying actively to make something work. They are putting forth effort into creating cinema, into creating a movie. And that is what makes it worse, that they actually are trying and still did this shit. And it couldn't reach a happy medium like Inglourious Basterds, where the comedic elements didn't take away from the horrific elements, because the comedic elements were done in a very specific style that, in a way, highlighted how horrific everything was. And that's just Tarantino's style, to be fair. Tarantino's always been good at that, at expressing horror through some slightly comedic manners. But it never goes too far. Like, Inglourious Basterds makes it very clear that the Nazis aren't something to just joke about. That they're not, that the Holocaust, that all of that is not funny. This movie tried to make that funny. And I don't know if the intention was to add a little levity to make it easier to swallow when the heavy stuff did happen. I don't know if that was Taika Waititi's intention, but it failed if it was. And it failed anyway, in my eyes. And I understand. I said it in the pre-thoughts, I understand this is a popular movie. A lot of people like this film. It did really well. But I have my strong feelings on this that I cannot just ignore. And I found this to be extremely disrespectful in the way it handled the comedy aspect. And I wish it was just the serious stuff. If it was just the serious stuff, just the story of Jojo, this fanatical young kid who's brainwashed by the cult-like ideals of the Nazi Party, if it was just about him befriending this Jewish girl that his mother was helping to hide, and learning that his biases and everything are wrong and disgusting and evil and everything, if it was just that, I would have been not only fine with this, but I would have actually liked this more than I do. I would have found it good, and possibly even great, if it handled it well enough. And it could have. The idea is very much here. But when the big, like, epic, like, final victory moment of the movie is this kid yelling "fuck you, Hitler," and punt kicking this imaginary goofy version of him out a window in the most comedically stupid way possible. It's like, how are you supposed to take that seriously? How, like, the sentiment, fuck Hitler, fuck Nazis, yes, of course, but how are you supposed to take that seriously when it's handled in that way? When that's the big final victorious moment of the film, outside of, you know, just Elsa stepping out into freedom, it's like, that's the big victory you're going to leave us on? Jojo's big moment of just truly turning away from the brainwashing and everything, that's what you're going to leave us on? That's ridiculous. It's goofy. It's insensitive. To boil it down to something so silly like that. So yeah, I apologize to everyone who likes this film and everything, but I'm not going to apologize for my feelings on this. I stand behind them completely. And if you like this film, great. As long as you understand the realities of it all, as long as you're very much as anti-Nazi as you can get, fine. But please just understand why I couldn't enjoy this. Why I couldn't find this to be that good or great of a film. Why I only found it at best okay. Because in my eyes, it did some things I cannot ignore. Some things that just are, in my eyes, inexcusable. And ruin the film for me. So I apologize to anyone who really likes this and really, like, expected something else from me, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to speak my truth here. So I do want to say thank you, though, to Smurf for donating for this. And I'm not, even though I didn't, like, fully like this or anything, I'm not saying that I regret seeing it. I've said this before, but it takes a lot for me to actually regret seeing a movie. The Adam Sandler movie, Jack and Jill, I regret seeing as much of that as I did. And I walked out of the theater for that movie. I am not even joking you. That is one of the... Actually, no, that is the only film I actually walked out of the theater for. That I can think of, at least. I don't think there was another. I actively left the theater because of how bad that was. And I still have not seen the rest of the film. And I don't care to. It's not like that. It's like, that's a movie I regret seeing. And there have been others that I regret seeing, like, in their entirety and everything, too. But I don't regret seeing this. if for one reason, then because I get to speak about this, which I again consider to be an excessively important topic, and I'm fully willing to speak about it. But also, I just don't regret seeing it. I don't think there's anything regrettable about it. I didn't like a lot of it, but still, there is a difference. So, tell me in the comments below, though, what did you think of Jojo Rabbit? Were you more lenient on it than I was, or did you also find a lot of issue with how it portrayed and handled things? Um, and as usual, with any donations in the future, don't just assume that another movie in a similar vein might be something I'm going to dislike. It's never quite clear for me what I'm going to like and what I'm going to dislike. So just be willing to give anything a shot, because I don't even know what I'm going to end up liking or not most of the time. Um, so keep that in mind. You don't have to worry about that. I'm still willing to react to pretty much anything. So, yeah. And again, as I said in the pre-thoughts, that is perfectly optional anyways. If you don't want to or can't, no worries. You'll still be able to see everything I react to on the channel no matter what. So, yeah. But if you do want to and can, all donations, no matter how big or small, will get you a reward no matter what. You can have me react again to a movie, a series, something on YouTube, whatever you want, as long as I haven't seen it. And you can talk to me in the comments or whatever, or the Discord or wherever, to make sure on whether or not I've seen something. Though I do have a list on the Discord of examples of things I haven't seen. You can take from that list, or it can give you ideas for other things maybe. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.